Hello and welcome to On the Bench, the only sports discussion show for the Lincolnshire and Humber region, right here on Estuary TV. I'm Rachel Chadwick. We're here to take a look through the big sports stories that have been hitting the headlines this week, and we'll be asking our guests for their views on what's been going on. Joining us in the studio this week are Matt Jones from Brigg Town Football Club and Leigh Curtis, sports journalist at the Lincolnshire Echo. Thank you both for joining us. How's the season gone so far for you, Matt?
We're picking up. We had a very bad start, but it's improving. We've gone 7 games unbeaten before Saturday. Unfortunately, we lost, but things are looking better.
Good. Always a positive spin.
Always.
And how's everything been going for you, Leigh? Keeping you busy?
Yeah, it has been very busy. I mean, it started off very well, but it's sort of tailed off in recent weeks. But all been well. Hopefully, Lincoln can pick up pretty soon. Yeah,
definitely, and we'll be talking about both your teams a little bit later on in the show. So thanks again for that. We're back with you a little bit more shortly. Also coming up on the show this evening, Tom Stu will be bringing you a special edition from A View from the Estuary, all the way from the home of the Mariners, Grimsby Town FC. And Matt Denson went along to G.Y.P.O, which stands for Giving Young People Opportunities, to join them for a spot of BMXing. Stay tuned for that. But first, on Wednesday night, I think it's fair to say that we were all shocked to see racism rearing its ugly head again at the Champions League tie between Manchester City and CSKA Moscow. UEFA have opened disciplinary proceedings into the club, which could result in a partial stadium closure and a €50,000 fine. What are your thoughts on this? First of all, Leigh?
I'm not surprised, to be honest. I mean, Russia has a long history of racist chanting. You know, and the problems have been well documented throughout the years. Unfortunately, I think UEFA are a little bit too weak on this. My view is that I think, you know, they have a lot of PR campaigns and very good-natured, but they're very hollow. I'd like to see some direct action rather than just seem to skirt around the issues. Investigating refereeing protocols, things like that, really don't deal with it. So I would like to see firm action taken, and you know, if it needs to be a club to be banned, then so be it.
I mean, Yaya Toure seems to be the brunt of this and the main target during the game, and afterwards he actually said that the UEFA should stand strong. Do you agree with that statement, Matt?
I think he's right. He was clearly upset as well, and we've done so much in this country to stamp it out, and it seems to be prevalent abroad still, and UEFA turn a blind eye to it. When if it was here, you wonder what they would do to the English clubs. I'd like to see strong action, like Leigh said. I
mean, what would you like to see happen? What would be your ideal situation?
I think ideally the club should be thrown out of Europe. They've got to be made an example of, because it was a bad evening.
That definitely would be standing strong.
Absolutely.
So how do you think that this would impact Russia as a whole? Because going forward, they've got the World Cup coming up and the Winter Olympics. Do you think it's going to have much of an impact, or not going to be brushed under the carpet again?
It's difficult. I think the World Cup's obviously a dangerous one. You know, as we saw with the Euros, you know, there's a few problems in the Euros in Ukraine, and you know, so I think football is such a very emotive game, and unfortunately, I think football in Russia tends to attract the wrong element. You know, some games almost double up as a Ku Klux Klan recruitment program. So I think the World Cup will be very dangerous. I'm not sure about the Winter Olympics. I don't think you're going to get the far right watching the bobsleigh. So I think,
you never know.
Yeah, but you know, certainly the World Cup. I mean, I would be looking at, if I was FIFA. You know, Sepp Blatter apparently spoke at the FA's 150th dinner the other night and said that, you know, racism is a massive problem, and he would like to see clubs either dug points or even, you know, thrown out of competition. So, you know, and he is the head of FIFA, so I would be seriously looking at, you know, the World Cup and Russia and whether it's a suitable venue.
Oh, definitely. It is really controversial, and hopefully we won't see too much of it going forward, but we'll soon see. Thank you very much for your viewpoints on that one. Next up on the show, Tom and Stu will be rounding up your questions to take with them down to Blundell Park. Here they are with a view from the estuary.
With Grimsby Town back at the top end of the table, we bring you this week's View from the Estuary, once again from Blundell Park. Should football managers not be able to be sacked until the end of the season? You'd like managers to actually see out the contract. Obviously, managers want players to honour their contract and see that through. So chairman should really let managers see out the contract, but it's not going to happen because obviously the pressure builds. Yeah. It's a results business. You're not getting the results. The chairman's not happy. He's going to get rid of you because he wants results. And if someone else can deliver that, he's going to get them in.
Yeah, you look what's happened to Ian Holloway and Crystal Palace over the last week. That he's left by mutual consent for saying that he's too tired to manage in a relegation battle. Some of the players he's brought in, I think he wishes that he didn't. Obviously the chairman doesn't want to see the team get relegated. The fans certainly don't. We've had it here at Blundell Park, where the fans have witnessed so many relegations over the last 10 or so years. Things can look up with the same manager, chopping and changing isn't it, but leaving it until the end of the season certainly isn't good for managers, for fans or for players.
Are Grimsby Town over the recent upset during the managerial situation? You know, they're competing at the right end of the table.
Yeah.
They're on, going in the right direction. Performances are looking better. So yeah, I think they're over it. Paul has been with the club 3 years in February, so it's taken its time, you could say, but promotion is looking more likely.
Chopping and changing isn't the way forward. Rob Scott could have easily took Paul Hurst with him when he left. Paul Hurst could have said, I'm not managing without my co-manager, as they say, but he hasn't. He's stuck to the task and Grimsby are reaping the rewards for it.
Are parents influencing and damaging chances of top-class players? I've witnessed it myself. I mean, I even played football as a youngster. On a Sunday league matches, youth matches, training sessions, you see parents just shouting the odds and spouting nonsense to their children. Surely it's the manager's job to guide them, direct them, teach them, shout instructions to them on the pitch. If parents are doing the same thing, obviously they want to help and support their lad on the pitch. But if they're going to do that, then surely the players are going to be thinking, who do I listen to? My dad, my mum, or my coach? So it's a bit of conflict there. Let the manager do that. Let the parents just support the children, because there is pressure to perform. Even as children, parents want to see their child win. If they don't, they have words with the manager.
Yeah, I used to be a junior football coach a couple of years ago now, and it was confusing on a Sunday afternoon going out there. But the parents are there to support the kids. I think sometimes it's over-supportiveness that gets them, as they are, a bit rowdy on the touchlines. They want the team to do well. And even as kids managers, you are under pressure to actually making the kids win the football matches. Otherwise, they come to you saying, the team's not performing well. I've even heard it a couple of years ago, the team's not doing very well. Are you going to change things around? We had some of the best players at the age group at that time, but because of a couple of defeats, the parents just want to see the kids do best.
Thank you for your questions this week. If you have a question for us, you can send it to us on Twitter at @AskEstuary.
Thanks to Tom and Stu, and thanks to Grimsby Town for welcoming the guys down there. Remember, if you have a question you want to send in to them, simply tweet it to @AskEstuary. And who knows, you may even be on the next episode. Just picking up on the last question there, Gary Lineker has actually made a point there about pushy parents and that they're damaging England's potential players for the future. What are your thoughts on this? Matt, do you see this quite a lot at the club?
Okay, we do see it from time to time, not necessarily at Brigg, but I've seen kids reduced to tears by parents shouting and bawling, and just because the kids made a mistake, parents can quite often take a lot of the fun out of the game for the kids, and that's got to be wrong. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Leigh, what's your thoughts on the coaches' side of it as well? Because you have your parents and the coaches for the...
It's funny because we were just talking, but I went to watch a lad who's the son of a friend of mine, and he's a very good young player and he plays for a good team, and I was very surprised at the manager. He's a ranter raver. I'm not going to name any names because it might get me into a bit of trouble, but I found his attitudes on the touchline to be quite disgusting, to be honest. These kids are 8 or 9 and he's ranting and raving. I think he actually hauled his own son off at one stage, reduced him to tears on the sidelines, and then carried on shouting at him. At that age, it's all about fun. It shouldn't be about how serious it is. These kids, you want them to be coming back week in, week out. If they're getting upset on the touchlines, then they ain't going to do that, and that can only be detrimental to the future of English football. Yeah,
and just quickly, Matt, do you think full-size pitches make an impact rather than smaller?
I think it's certainly the way. When I was at school, we were taught to hoof it as far as you could and chase after it, and it's been that way for 30 years.
Yeah.
We watch the Dutch and people like that, and the technique is far in advance of what we've got. And I think smaller pitches would help with that.
Time for a break. We'll be back with you shortly for more for our guests. Welcome back to the show. Now, it was reported in The Guardian last week that Helen Grant, the new sports minister, has said that there should be a female presence on the FA's controversial commission into the future of the England side. This is a row that has erupted after FA director Helen Rabbits criticised the commission for its lack of diversity. Matt, what's your thoughts on this one?
Okay, I think the idea of the panel itself is a great idea, and anything that improves England's chances of winning the World Cup, we've got to get behind. With regards to the lack of females on there, you'd think I've been racking my brains, and the only person I could think of suitable would be Hope Powell or somebody like that. There really aren't a lot of women out there, and I think the panel at the moment reflects football as it is. It's a male thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is difficult to think of somebody that's suitable, like you say. Leigh, what's your thoughts on kind of females in football in general?
Unfortunately, I think women's football is in a real struggle to convince people that it's worthwhile watching. I think, you know, from the games that I've covered, I've been very impressed by the standard, but, you know, you've got to try and convince the archetypal football fan in the pub that that women are on the same level as men. And unfortunately, that's a battle they're still trying to win. In terms of having women representation, I would have liked to maybe not Hope Powell, but I think Casey Stoney, who played for Lincoln Ladies, she's the England captain. You know, she's been a terrific ambassador for women's football. I think you need to have somebody who's involved at a grassroots level. You know, Hope's obviously not managing England anymore, and Casey's still playing. So I'd have liked to have seen somebody, you know, maybe her being involved on the panel, because I think she would be very good. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's a point that's been made in terms of experience, because actually, if we don't have enough females in the sport at a high level, we need to start off lower, coaching and, you know, kind of lower levels like that, so that in a few years they are experienced and can go onto the panel. Do you agree with that, Matt?
I think that's right. Yeah, Leigh's actually come up with a very good candidate there, and you know, she'd be an ideal ambassador for the game from the grassroots level upwards, which should be great. Yeah, definitely. I mean, do you think the Premier League should be part of the FA Commission as well? That's another kind of controversial point of it.
I don't think you can ignore them. You know, the Premier League is one of the biggest, if not the biggest league in the world. You know, why would you not want them involved? You know, this is a league that will have a major impact on on the way that this country produces English players. You know, the amount of foreigners that have come into the Premier League, to have them round the table and to have everybody talking about the future of the English game and how they can sort of navigate these problems, I think would be ideal. So I think they'd have to be involved in some way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree entirely with that, because if you don't have the Premier League involved, especially with more English players being involved in the team, then that's brilliant. Okay, well, it's certainly an interesting one, as always. If you want to let us know your thoughts on this story or any of the stories we've featured on the show, you can get in touch with us on the studio by tweeting @OnTheBenchTV. Next up on the show, Matt Denson went along to G.Y.P.O, an organisation that exists to give young people opportunities, build their confidence and provide facilities to enable them to fulfil their potential, which sounds brilliant to me. Matt joined the team there for a spot of BMX. Take a look at this.
Up at a BMX track in Grimsby. Always used the crit. Are you going to tell us more about what we're going to do, where we are, what all this is about?
Well, I started racing, I was from the age of about 4 years old till about 16. I was national champion a couple of times. Recently I've done my coaching badges, so I can actually coach the youth in BMX racing and stuff. Well, this is obviously New Waltham BMX track. The club is giving young people opportunities, which is G.Y.P.O for short. We've been going about 10 years, but we've only had this track for probably the last 2 years. Obviously it's BMX racing, it's an Olympic sport now. We just run a weekly night or Thursday night from sort of 6 till dark, trying to get kids into the sport of BMX racing.
What, anybody into the sport?
Anyone, any age, from 6 and under to 40 plus.
So what we're going to do tonight is, I thought I'll give it a go a bit later. We're going to have another victim. Never been on the track before. Chris's job tonight to see this guy around the track in half decent time. You can do it?
Yeah.
Okay, very simple. Start gate, they're waiting for us. Tyler is up there, first time around the track. Let's see how they get on. Okay, so off the track for the first time. Let's get a reaction from them. How did you get on?
Shaky start, but as I got used to it, it was a bit easier.
Good first go, obviously second go we got a little bit faster. A lot of BMX is confidence, a bit of belief in yourself. The best way is to build up your speed. One of the big things with BMX is something called pumping. As you go over the loops, over the bumps, you kind of use your legs and your body and your arms just to pump up and down. That's what you build speed. It's something that takes a bit of time to learn. You did well.
I'm 7 years old and I've been riding for 5 years. This is my dad.
I'm Mark Simpson. I've been riding for 35 years nearly. Come down every week, bring the lad, have a little play and have as much fun as possible.
Well, what do you want to do when you're older?
Be in the Olympics BMXing.
I waited around long enough. I've done some commentary. I watched the lads do it. I couldn't stay away any longer. I wanted to have a go. I'm going to get Chris to take me round. He's worn out. I think I can beat him. There you go. We did it. Couldn't let these young lads just do it. Nearly beat Chris. Wow, these bikes are responsive. Come down, have a go. I can't say any more than that.
What a fantastic organisation. All the best to G.Y.P.O on the future work that they do with young people in the local area. Now we just want to turn our eye a little bit to our local clubs. Recent draw for the local area, fantastic draw for the FA Cup on Sunday, Grimsby Town versus Scunthorpe United. Thoughts on that one, guys? Should be really good.
I think for Grimsby Town fans, they couldn't get a better draw than that one. It's ideal and they'll be loving it. Christmas
and birthdays came at once.
Should be a cracker and chance of an upset. So
yeah, definitely.
Should be good.
Lee, you going to be at the game?
Well, hopefully Lincoln will be in the first round, but if for whatever reason they're not, then I might go to that because I think it'd be a cracking game. Maybe the Telegraph and the Scunthorpe Telegraph should hand out tin hats for that one for free. I think it might be a bit lively.
Yeah. Any predictions on the scores, or do you dare not say?
Do you know what? I fancy Grimsby. I do fancy Grimsby. Scunthorpe have not had the greatest seasons. You know, I think Grimsby's a difficult place to go and play. I fancy Grimsby if there's a full house in Blundell Park, which there will be. So yeah, I fancy them. Yeah.
Pretty much guaranteed full house.
I think being from a big town perspective, I can't upset Scunthorpe fans too much. I'm going to go for a draw.
Yeah,
draw and Scunthorpe to win a replay.
Yeah. So how's everything been going at Brigg Town? Because you've got your anniversary coming up.
We have 2014 season will celebrate 150th anniversary. Wow. The oldest club in Lincolnshire.
That's fantastic.
And just to upset Grimsby fans a bit more, the first team in the world to wear black and white stripes as well.
There you go. Originals.
And we've been invited to Buckingham Palace to meet the Queen. We've got anniversary dinner and that sort of thing set up.
Brilliant.
And it's going to be a really good year for the club, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully your season will improve from now.
It's been uphill for the last few weeks. It's picking up nicely.
That's good.
I'm sure we'll be all right come the end.
Yeah. And how's Lincoln City been getting on recently, Lee?
Well, they started off very well. I mean, Gary Simpson, I think the financial problems at Lincoln have been well documented the last 5 years have been pretty awful, to be honest. But they brought Gary Simpson in towards the back end of last season. He's done ever so well with limited finance to build a very, very good squad. They started off brilliantly. It's the best start since 2006, 2007. So, but unfortunately, it's sort of tailed off a little bit. I think it's important to remember that Lincoln is still in a period of transition. So hopefully they'll get through that because they've got Plymouth in the next round at home.
Yeah, okay, so quite an exciting time for both teams.
Absolutely.
And obviously kind of building up to the rest of the season. We're still not even halfway through, so should be a good season for everybody. Well, thank you very, very much for both joining us on the show. Last week we saw Lincoln City crowned champions of the Lincolnshire Senior Cup after a penalty shootout against Gainsborough Trinity, so that's always a good thing for Lincoln going forward as well. Just a quick congratulations to Samsung Honda rider Alex Lowes, who scooped the British Superbikes Championship after becoming the youngest rider to win the championship at just 23. Some great successes for our area. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. Thanks to our guests, Leigh Curtis and Matt Jones, and thanks to you for watching. We'll be back next week. We'll see you then. Goodbye.